All right, it's another fantastic Wednesday morning, and welcome to another edition of AM Cafe on OSBC. My name is David Ojo. Yes, we have a lot to talk about on today's edition of AM Cafe. Well, they say President Donald Trump is in the news once again. And what about President Donald Trump this time around? That is what we'll definitely be discussing today on AM Cafe this wonderful Wednesday morning. And we have somebody that will be having this conversation together all the way from the United States of America, and he will be telling us some of these things that we'll be discussing today. One of the major things that we're going to be discussing is the Donald Trump abolishing the education department in the United States of America, especially at the federal level. Why did he do this? These are some of the things we'll be asking our guests this wonderful morning all the way from United States. Yes, we have Kunle Braimo, the KB Foundation, will be talking with us this wonderful morning on the reason why President Donald Trump decided to abolish education department at the federal level. We'll be looking at the impact of this abolishment by the president, and we'll see does it have a negative effect on people, especially at the federal level, or does it have a positive or negative effect? These are some of the things that we will be sharing this wonderful morning on AM Cafe. Just like I said the other time, my guests will be talking with us via Zoom this wonderful morning, and it will be letting us know some of these things that we are talking about. All right, good morning, Mr. Kunle Buraimo. Few itches to get through him, and very very soon we'll get through him, and we'll start our discourse on this topic that really talks about President Donald Trump abolishing the education system department in the United States of America. A lot of things have been happening at the moment. All right, very soon we'll get through him now. I guess my producer is all right. Okay, now, Kunle Buraimo, you're welcome to AM Cafe this morning. I think we're still having some itches to get through him, but definitely we're going to get through him, and we'll discuss some of these issues that we have been talking about, the abolishment of the education department at the federal level in the United States of America. All right, yes, good to have you right now. I think we can have you on AM Cafe this morning. All right, good morning, Mr. Kunle Buraimo.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being there for us. Yes, we are discussing, we want to have this conversation with you, and it's all about the President Trump abolishing education department in the United States of America, especially at the federal level. You've been in the United States for a very long time at the moment. So how has it been before we even go into that? What is the trend like in the United States of America, especially in the education system now?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. So let's try to talk about the reason why the Department of Education was created initially by President Jimmy Carter. And the Department of Education was created through executive order by President Jimmy Carter, but later on, the Congress gave it the full backing by passing it into law to create the Department of Education. And the purpose of that in the 70s, when President Jimmy Carter enacted that into law, when they passed it into law, was to give a national comprehensive policy to with different laws to make sure that states are following federal guideline regarding different education policy. That was one of the reasons why the Department of Education was created in this during President Jimmy Carter time. But over the years, the current administration, they believe the policy is not really working, and it is better for the state to run the education rather than the federal government giving them the policy to use in all the states. So that's one of the reasons why the current president is trying to abolish the Department of Education.
Right. You just mentioned that it's better for the state to handle or the local to handle the education system, especially in the United States of America. But what really went wrong? This policy has been there for a very long time.
So if you look at it critically, in the United States, there's no federal university. All the university, they are under the jurisdiction of the state. So the state makes all the university are on, especially the public university, they are under the state. So the states decide how to run the federal education. The only thing that, and the Ministry of all these high school, middle school, they are under the jurisdiction of local government. So in the last several years, the standard of reading in most of these schools has really dropped. And the argument that the current president is making is that because of the federal government policy, you cannot set the same standard for some states that they are struggling and another state that is not struggling. So it's better for each state to decide how you want to tackle your education system instead of following federal government policy that is making some states to be behind. So for instance, in some states like Maryland, in some schools in Maryland, their children cannot read they are reading at a very low rate, and in some other states, some children are reading at the higher rate. So what the president is now saying is, look, let the federal government just decide. Let's hands off. Each state control what you want to control based on your what you think is going to make your education to be better. And with the amount of money United States government is putting into education, they are still ranked below when it comes to math and science. With the amount of money the federal government, state, local put into education, United States still rank maybe number 10 when it comes to math and science, with the amount of money they put into education. And when you come to reading, they are reading at a very low rate. And if the president felt maybe with the abolishment of it's not really the president that have been pushing for this. The Republican have been kind of pushing for this for a very long time, that it is better for the state to run the education, not the federal government.
All right. Looking at what you've just said, because some school of thought believe that it's going to be a big burden on the state organizing and taking up the education system in the United States of America. What's your own thoughts about that?
Technically, the federal government don't really run the education. What they just do is they set the policy. It is now up to the state to run the education system is actually run at local government level, not at the federal level. So, for instance, you have something called school district. We like in my own area now, we have Houston Independent School District. In some other place next to us we have Fort Bend Independent School District. Those are the ones that are actually running the school, not the federal government. What they just do is they follow the guideline. of the policy that the government have set, and that's all they do. They don't the federal government don't run it. It's the local that run the education. So the school, each school district, they follow the federal government guideline and they follow state guideline. So the president felt like there's too much bureaucracy in the layer of education. So by cutting off the federal bureaucracy, it's going to be easy for the each school district to run their education the best way they feel they can run it. And as I've said earlier, there's no federal university here. The only something close to the federal university is the West Point. The West Point is the military academy, which is under the Department of Defense. They are not really under the Department of Education. So, so that's one of the reasons why he felt, and some of the Republicans felt, there's no need for the Federal Minister of Education, because it's a big bureaucracy that is not really helping at the lower level.
Now, looking at what you just said, I'm just looking at this from this angle that federal governments in the United States do give loans to students, give grants to students. Now, what happens now when they're taking their hands off?
So that is what we are. Nobody is really sure what is going to happen on that. So that is another thing that they need to look at. So, but from what one of the articles that I read, they are saying that maybe the loan program will roll under the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department is equivalent of Minister of Finance in Nigeria. So maybe it's up to each student will be applying to for loan at the Ministry of Treasury, but nobody really knows how that is going to play out. So I will not be able to tell what is going to happen in that regard, because there's no comprehensive information or policy yet to regard on that is going to be unfold.
The reason why I asked that question is because a lot of people depend on these loans, these grants, especially at the federal level, and it's just a way for them to go through education. Now, if President Donald Trump now says, okay, these we are abolishing this and we're giving it to the state and the local government, and there are some who are already in a program in the United States, what happens to them? That's my concern. What happens to them?
So that is one thing that I've said. I'm not really sure how that is going to play out. Maybe the federal government will, because sometimes when they abolish, even in Nigeria, when they abolish one agency or the other, they will reshuffle some of the responsibility of that agency to another agency. So maybe that is what is going to happen, because right now the total student loan is around $1.something trillion. So somebody has to take over that loan, that liability. So maybe they will push it to another department. I'm not really sure what is going to happen, but as of today, no comprehensive policy have come out and said this is how that is going to unfold. But I'm very sure there will still be the state will now be allocating the loan to various students. Maybe that's what they will do. I'm not really sure at this point. And another reason why Trump is saying, he said, because of too much money, that one of the reasons why education cost is rising is because some of these schools think, the student can have access to loan to pay their tuition. So the cost of education in the United States is really going out of control. I could remember when I went to school here. I got my first degree in the United States. You can actually afford education back then, the tuition by yourself. I could remember if for full-time students, if you take 4 classes, your tuition is around $1,000 or even less. The same, the same thing, 4 classes. Right now, tuition only is around 6,000 plus. So it has doubled by 5. So it's very expensive, and he believed that because of the loan is available, the institution are inflating the prices of their education, and that's one of the reasons why he wants to abolish the one of the reasons. And also, when it comes to education, he believed that there should be a kind of, there are some schools they consider a failing school. A failing school could be, I will use Osogbo as an example. In Osogbo, we have different areas. We have Okebale, we have GRA, we have Odiolo. The schools that are in Okebale might be considered a failing school because of the kind of people that lives there. Teachers do not want to go to areas that are not really good, the neighborhood that are not good. So what the president is now saying is that all these failing schools, they will be given a voucher. So with the voucher they are given, they can then go to a private school or go to something called charter school. I'm not sure if you heard the concept of charter school.
Oh yeah.
A charter school. Okay. So for the benefit of our listener, a charter school is a school that is not public, is not private. They are in between. The funding from charter school is from the private and public sector. And usually most of these charter schools, they are inside low poverty area to help those children. So they try as much as possible. So a charter school is like a private public, but they have much better teachers than public school to help the children in the failing area. So that is what is also saying. Once we have the Department of Education out of the way, people can then get a voucher to go to charter school, to go to private school, or go to any school in their area that is much better than their current school. So that is what is another thing that is talking about.
Well, I don't know why you decided to use Okebale as an example, because we're in Okebale.
No. I'm sorry for using that.
But, well, it's just by the way anyway. But looking at what you've just said, let's take your example for what you've just said. Don't you think that Donald Trump is depriving those living in such areas better education, good services, just because he feels that that place is not eyebrow area for people to go to school?
Actually, if you look at it, it's actually helping those people, because when you are in a non-performing school, you'll be surprised that those non-performing schools, their students, at the end of the day, it's very difficult for them to really excel because they are really behind. But for instance, my children, they went to charter school. That's why we live in a not failing area, but we choose to send our children to charter school because they have more resources and more qualified teachers. Average teacher in charter school will have at least bachelor or master degree, compared to some failing school that that requirement might not be that strict. So with giving the opportunity to other the less privileged in the failing school to go to another school that is better, it's much better for them. I will use for instance Louisiana. Louisiana has the highest private school in the US. Why? Because in Louisiana, the rate of the public school in Louisiana is not as good as most schools. So if you read about the education in Louisiana, They have one of the highest private school in the United States, because the public school system there is not of the best. So with that, having said that, with the new policy, maybe that will help many of these children that are trapped in the failing school in the Louisiana area.
Well, now we've talked about the students, we've talked about the schools. What about the teachers?
So the teachers in the United States, what I know, I was talking to somebody who happened to be a teacher here, and his mother happened to be a teacher in Nigeria. And she was telling me that they are going for, so every maybe a month and a half, they have something called Teacher Developmental Day. So at that developmental day, they discuss various ways of teaching. So I was asking her, do they have that kind of concept in Nigeria? He said it was his mom was the one that really go out to see what kind of development she need to acquire in order to improve herself. That in Nigeria there's nothing like developmental for teachers, but here they have developmental for teachers. They have to go to some series of training to make sure that they are up to their task in schools. So teachers here, they are well taken care of, and I believe that's one of the reasons why the education is a little bit much better than what we have in Nigeria.
Well, now that you talk about Nigeria, let's talk about, let's look at both sides now. How can you relate Nigerian education with the Western education at the moment? Is there any any difference? Is there any similarities?
Well, I would say Nigeria education system right now, I felt like the government is not putting enough resources into our education system, because if people that lives in Osogbo might not see the effect of what is going on, but once you transition or travel out of Osogbo to all these small cities, you discover that education in all these rural areas are not taking any priority. I am. It saddened my heart to say that we went to one school. I won't mention the name of the school or the city. Out of 200 in the school, they have 239 students in that school. Out of the 239 students, 107 students either do not have a uniform, or the uniform are torn. And I was even told that some of the students decided not to even come to school anymore because there's no uniform, there's no desk, there's nothing for them. So education seems not to be of high priority to us in Nigeria compared to the US. In the US, the government will find every opportunity to help all the students. For instance, I could remember sometime last semester, my school where I lecture, they sent out a circular that in case you have any student in your class that they are looking, that some of the students, they actually live inside their car because maybe they for one reason or the other, maybe they are homeless or something, that the school has a food pantry. We should direct them to go and get food. So the government try as much as possible to help students here with any small with little things that they might need. So education in Nigeria is not really being taken as high priority compared to United States.
Well, you've tested both waters, the Nigerian education and the education down there. Now, looking at Nigerian education as an educationist, as someone that loves, have a passion for students, what do you think our own federal government can do to to minimize this disparity when it comes to education in Nigeria?
I think what I believe the government should do is they should put more resources into education in Nigeria. And the resources is not only to put resources into education, try to follow up with the resources. Try to test students based on what they are actually learning. Try to make sure that all teachers, they are up to task. They know what they are doing. I will give you for one instance. I won't mention one school in Osogbo there. Somebody that I know used to teach in that school. The person was hired by PTA to teach in that school, but due to one reason or the other, this person left. This individual teaches mathematics. After he left, they are now telling somebody who is teaching commerce to start teaching mathematics. You cannot tell somebody who is teaching commerce to start teaching mathematics. You need somebody in that field, maths area, to teach maths. You need somebody in physics area to teach physics. You need somebody in chemistry to teach chemistry. You cannot start mixing a different field to teach different area. It's not going to help. So these are some of the problem I see in Nigeria. And some schools, from my understanding, they do not have science teachers. They are struggling. So, and some of the teachers, they are paid by the PTAs, not by the government, from my understanding. So, government needs to find a way to put more money, pay the teacher very well. In the US, teachers are paid very well. Not that they are overpaid, but at least their income is decent enough to be able to focus on what they are doing. So I do believe that teachers should be paid well enough so that they will be able to teach the children according to what their skill and knowledge. And teachers should not be. They should make sure that teachers have everything they need to make sure that all the students are successful.
Well, you just mentioned, you just said it beautifully now. Looking at our teachers, looking at the kind of certificate, the kind of qualification they have, do you think that a lot of people will always look at it from this angle, that it is better for people in the College of Education to teach, especially in a primary and secondary school, and even in the tertiary, well, if they go for their masters and PhD anyway. But we hardly find people of such in our education system. We found people that studied economics in the university, teaching economics in the secondary school or even in the primary school, without all these prerequisites of how to do the, how do you call it now? Is it scheme of work or note of lesson or all those things? All they know is just they know how to teach economics, and they know economics and they are there, but the rudiments are not there. Don't you think that is one way where we are lacking behind?
So I won't say we are lacking behind in that regard, because in the US we don't have like NCE that you just mentioned. There's no, so average teachers will have a bachelor degree or master degree. So now what they have they have different programs that they can go through in order to be certified to be a teacher. You see what I'm saying? So there's no ministry, there's no NCE here. It's just you go through a bachelor degree, master degree, then go through teacher certification process. So with your teacher certification process, once you start teaching, you start doing different developmental program while in school. So and you see from what I've said before, it's really helping them, and there's no need to go through the teacher training college the way we have it back in Nigeria. Because to me, in my own view, yeah, it's a good concept, but it's more or less we are adding burden. At the end of the day, some of the and this is where some of the salary disparity comes in, because the government will say because you went to NCE, your salary cannot be equal to somebody that went to bachelor degree. So these are some of the issues that needs to be ironed out when it comes to education. It's either you have a NCE or you see that you have bachelor degree, so that there will be no disparity in wages, and also to make sure that whatever qualification the government is looking for is what the teacher are actually rendering to the student as a service.
Well, as an educationist, I need to ask you this question, because I'm a little bit concerned about it. You just mentioned something brilliant now, that in US, all they do is you have your degree, you have your master's, or probably you go for your PhD, or there's a teacher certificate that they go through for them to get into the system. But in Nigeria, we have this system of going through NCE, and after NCE, when you want to get a job, you find it very difficult to get even a teaching job. So why are we adopting that system? That's my question, especially the NCE. And even
you mean Nigeria? You mean Nigeria?
Yes.
Well, I will not be able to speak to that, because I'm not an educationalist in Nigeria. But I do believe that maybe years back, the government felt that is the best way to educate all the teachers. They have to go through teacher training college, then from teacher training college to NCE. So if I'm very sure you'll be familiar that in the past, many of the teachers that used to teach in the school are not really from university. They are either from the primary school teacher will come from teacher training college, and the secondary school teacher will come from NCE, and maybe few here and there will come from regular university. But now I think we have gone past that era of teacher training NC. In my own view, in my own opinion, I think government should just let everything be under university, and let teacher train based on once they get their bachelor degree and they want to teach, they should just go through some certification to teach them how to teach in primary school, in secondary school, so that they will be an effective teacher instead of going through the teacher training college and NCE. In my view, I think the teacher training college, NCE, is an old school, to say, not a modern way of educating the student.
Thank you very much. Fáfàní àwọn èèyàn wa tó jẹ́ Yorùbá, a fẹ́ béèrè àwọn nǹkan kan lọ́wọ́ yín. Àwọn èèyàn tún ní ààrẹ Donald Trump tó ti gbéṣẹ́ ẹ̀ dé o. Wọ́n ní ìṣe tó tẹ̀ tó wá gbé dé lọ́tẹ̀ yìí ní lórí ẹ̀kọ́. Wọ́n ní pàápàá wọ́n ló fẹ́ ká ẹ̀ka ẹ̀kọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ní kẹ́ní kúrò ní ìjọba àpapọ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè Amẹ́ríkà. Èrò wo lẹ rí sí àti iṣẹ́ rò pé ní tí ààrẹ Donald Trump fẹ́ dáwọ́lé ọ̀ tó tiẹ̀ ti dáwọ́lé ní ká sọ, ṣé ẹ rò pé yóò yọrí sí rere?
Ẹ ṣé, mo dúpẹ́ fún ìbéèrè tẹ́ béèrè. Wọ́n sì ń sọ ni wọ́n tí dáwọ́lé, àwọn pé tí wọ́n bá tí sọ pé wọ́n ti fọwọ́ sí, èèyàn ò tí lè sọ pé wọ́n ti dáwọ́lé. Awuyewuye ni èyí tí a ṣì ń gbọ́, àmọ́ awuyewuye ó lè di òótọ́. Ìgbà tó wá máa di òótọ́ ni là mọ̀. Àmọ́ Ministry of Education wọ́n dá sílẹ̀ ní ayé Jimmy Carter ní around 79 ni wọ́n dá sílẹ̀. And ìdí tí wọ́n dẹ̀ ṣe dá sílẹ̀ ni wípé kí wọ́n lè ṣe àkóso gbogbo policy education ní America, so that àwọn náà okay at this ní level báyìí o ọmọ gbọ́dọ̀ lè kàwé báyìí o. Àmọ́ ààrẹ tí wọ́n á ní sìn ó ti ń sọ tipẹ́ nígbà tó kọ́kọ́ ṣe ààrẹ lálàkọ́kọ́ pé Department of Education is not kò jẹ́ ibi tó ń really ran àwọn ọmọdé lọ́wọ́ mọ́ bíi ti tẹ́lẹ̀, pé ó máa dára kí àwọn state àti local government kí wọ́n máa ṣe àkóso ètò ẹ̀kọ́ wọn, so that kò ní jẹ́ pé ìjọba ló máa set policy tí gbogbo state máa follow. So ìdí kan tí ó ṣe fẹ́ parẹ́ nìyẹn. And ó dẹ̀ tún wá wò wípé àwọn iléèwé mi wà ní ibi tí wọ́n pè ní failing school. Àwọn failing school yìí ní tí wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe ni pé wọ́n á lè fún àwọn ọmọ tó wà níbẹ̀ ní nǹkan pè ní voucher yẹn wọ́n lè lọ lò ní ilé ìwé tí wọ́n ti ń sanwó, àbí ilé ìwé mi tó máa dáa ju ilé ìwé tí wọ́n wà lọ. So ìdí àwọn ìdí tí ó ṣe fẹ́ parẹ́ nìyẹn. But bí ó ṣe wá máa já sí àti ìmọ̀ ibi tí ó máa já sí, àṣà ṣì ń wò ni pé dùgbẹ̀dùgbẹ̀ tó ń fì lókè, ibi tó máa já sí àti ìmọ̀.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo ó kù díẹ̀ ká lọ lórí ètò ká tó lọ. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ẹ̀kọ́ yìí ní orílẹ̀-èdè Amẹ́ríkà. Àwọn tó jẹ́ pé owó ìjọba náà máa fi ń kàwé, àwọn owó kan tí ìjọba ti sọ pé gbà lọ fi eléyìí kàwé nígbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, eléyìí táwọn òyìnbó ń pè ní grant, òun náà fi ń kàwé. Ìsì tí gbogbo ẹ̀ tó ti wá kúrò ńbẹ̀ báyìí, ṣé ẹ rò pé kò ní fa wàhálà díẹ̀ nínú orílẹ̀-èdè Amẹ́ríkà? Well, I guess we lost him on the show, and he's been talking with us on the recent proposal of President Donald Trump on abolishing the education department, especially at the federal level. He's been saying, the president has been saying that too much money has been put on that. So we can't get through him again, but he has been able to shed more light on why President Donald Trump is trying to abolish the education department. All right, that's how far we can go on today's edition of AM Cafe. Special thanks to my producer, Shola Ogunleye, who has been there for me and making sure that this program comes up on air every blessed day of the week. All right, that's how far we can go on today's edition of AM Cafe. My name is David Ojo. Join me same time next week when I come your way again. I say bye for now.